Did you know Super Awesome Mix has an app? Go to the Apple App Store today and download Super Awesome Mix. It's free. You could start creating and sending your own digital mixtapes in just a few clicks. Also, there's links to our Instagram account and a link where you can follow your favorite podcast. Speaking of which, welcome back to another Super Awesome Mix. My name is Matt Sidholm, alongside my co-host and co-founder of Super Awesome Mix, Samer Abu Salbi. Samer, how we doing this week?
Doing real well, Matt. So well, in fact, that I just feel kind of like strutting. You know, like sometimes you just feeling that vibe, and you just want to strut down the street.
Well, that would be appropriate because that's our theme for this week. Is songs to kind of strut to, and this was your idea. It's funny because for the new listeners and for the longtime listeners, we kind of just keep a running list of, hey, here are themes that we want to do. We're going to do this on this episode, or if we have guests coming up. So we just kind of have this running list of shows. And I opened up our list one day, and all you wrote was strut, and we never talked about it again. And then I put together my mix. So I hope I had it correct. This might be another one of those did Matt understand the assignment type thing. But what did you mean when you said strut on our little show list?
You know, from your song picks, I think you did understand the assignment. So I was pretty pleased. Pleased.
Good.
So you passed the test, if this was some kind of a test. When in reality...
I guess I could have just asked the question, but I chose instead to just push forward.
This is an important lesson in communication, everyone. Just don't assume, all right? Just ask a question. It's so cheap to do. But no, I wrote that word down because I just didn't want to forget this idea. I think we may have mentioned it in a recent episode, like in talking to someone. And I was like, oh my gosh, that would be a fun mix. Like just put together a mix where you just, you're feeling good. And you just kind of have that special kind of walk. So we each, of course, picked 6 songs as we always do. And we've got Matt's up first, and you went with Come Up Man by G-Love and Special Sauce.
Yeah, I feel like when you said strut, this was the first song that came to mind. I mean, I think it's got it all. It's got a lot of energy. Like G-Love and Special Sauce always brings a lot of energy, right? So if you're familiar with their music at all, like that's going to be there. I love the confidence in there. I feel like if you're walking somewhere, you want everyone to know that you're the come up man, right? Like you're coming up. There are a couple references to cocaine in the song, but we're going to think of that as like theoretical cocaine, right? Like you just want the positives from the cocaine, just the energy, right? Like not all the negatives. Yeah.
No.
So don't actually do cocaine, but the rest of the song, I just feel like it's just got a great vibe to it, and this was the very first thing that came to mind when I saw the word strut.
I love the idea of metaphorical cocaine. I think that's
yeah.
That could be a very like grabby like ad campaign, right? Like do metaphorical cocaine, not real cocaine. But find that thing that just gives you that extra pep in your step.
Well, whether it's a song or
real.
A motivational speech, right? Like, hey, look, okay, come on by, grab some metaphorical cocaine, and you're ready for the rest of the day.
Just remember, everyone, superawesomemarketing.com for all of your marketing needs. Check us out. This is a great opening track. I was really happy that this is when I was like, okay, he understood the assignment. So I felt calm about the other 5 picks of yours as I was listening to. I had not heard of, I have heard of G-Love and Special Sauce, but I don't think I ever sat down and like listened to music of theirs. And so this was probably like my first introduction to them, and absolutely loved this track. It's like bluesy, but also with hip hop elements. It kind of mixed in, and I thought like that is so cool. I love when genres mash up like that. I realized that in the last couple of years, like it is so interesting when that happens.
Yeah, they're really cool. I mean, I think if you dug into their catalog a little bit, I think you'd find a lot of stuff that you'd enjoy. just because of that. They do bring a lot of different things to the table. It's kind of hard to put them in a category of like, oh, they're this type of music, right? So it's pretty unique. So yeah, definitely worth your time to dig into.
Very nice. Good pick.
All right, so your first pick, you went with Royals by Lorde.
Yeah, so similar to you, whenever I started to put together this mix, I thought, okay, well, I've got to put this song because my theme, and I think similar to yours, is just kind of like, not only is the beat kind of good to kind of support like a slow walk or like a walk where you're really feeling good, but also like the words, kind of help reinforce that. And so I love this song because, it's just basically all about her feeling like she can be her own queen bee, as she says, and later clarified this is not a reference to Beyonce, but truly a reference to like the bee society, right? Like be the queen of your society. And yeah, like apparently she wrote the song in 30 minutes at home, which is amazing because it had and continues to have huge commercial success. Like gets played all the time, is such a good song, absolutely deserves to be played all the time. But I just love that backing beat. Like it's just everything from the first couple of notes. You're like, yes, like I feel this. And so I absolutely love it. And again, just completely amazed that she could just like sit down at home one day and write this song and have it be so successful.
Yeah, I think it won Grammy Song of the year it came out, and I think she was like 13 or something. Like, I think it was also like, right. So to your point, it didn't just take 30 minutes. It was also 30 minutes from like someone who was barely a teenager. And
right.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to note, and I should have done this before the recording, but this song was covered by Bruce Springsteen. He did an acoustic cover of this song.
I was going to mention that, yes, because
okay.
We haven't had a Bruce reference on the show in a while, and I was like, oh, this is a perfect time to bring it up. Yeah, he just kind of busted this out at a concert once, and then, I think he later recorded an acoustic version, but really pretty cool, but right up his alley because you dig into the lyrics here, and even though the title is Royals, it's really more about I'm not into all these fancy things, right?
Right.
Like it's really kind of anti-consumerism, and much more like, I don't know anything about this world, right? Like it's much more like laid back, even though the vibe of the song and some of the things she lists, if you're not really paying attention, you just think it's kind of a cool song about cool stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So
right. No, you're absolutely
right. I love how
right.
she does that.
Yeah, like gold teeth, gray goose, tripping in the bathroom, bloodstains, ball gowns, trash in the hotel rooms. And it's like, we don't care. We aren't caught up in your love affair. It's like, yeah, you do all of that crazy
right,
stuff. Like,
right.
I'm just going to go be myself over here. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a really good theme for Bruce. It kind of fits.
Yeah.
With his $500 million. He's just like us, Matt. He's just like us.
Look, he's just a normal guy, okay?
Just a quick diversion before we go to song 3. I do really love people that can maintain that image even after they've become massively successful and have like very little to do with like being normal, right? Like I think Ellen DeGeneres recently had a whole comeback routine, and it was like based on that, where it's like, oh, I'm still relatable. I'm still relatable. Like,
yeah,
despite all our success.
Well, and I heard somebody say like Bruce used to write songs about people he knew, and now he just writes songs about people he might have heard about, and like he's just like, so like early on it was like, no, this is a guy I went to high school with. No, this is a guy I worked with once, and now it's like he's so far removed. It's like I heard a story the other day about somebody struggling, and I wrote this song. Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, speaking of struggling, here's something that hopefully you're not struggling to do, and it is your second pick, "Staying Alive" by the Bee Gees.
Yeah, so this is, you think of strutting. One of the most iconic struts in movie history is the beginning of Saturday Night Fever and John Travolta traversing the streets of New York City and this song playing in the background. And, how could it not be on there? Again, incredible beat. But yeah, this one works even lyrically, right? It just opens up. You could tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a woman's man, no time to talk. Right there, it's saying, look, I'm just walking here. Get out of my way. All right. It's, I think it's just the perfect song for a mix like this.
I agree. My note here, my top note on this track was this mix had to include it, otherwise it would be invalid. People would people would revolt. They would throw us out, Matt. Unsubscribe. Because it really is kind of the ultimate Strut song. Yeah, it's so good. I still think, we've mentioned this in the past. We kind of like have a love affair with the Bee Gees over the last year and a half. And this still makes me laugh because truly, like, the song is literally about staying alive in the streets of New York City during a very violent time period, which unfortunately we're kind of going through again. So, maybe the song will make a comeback in that regard. But it's just so funny because, yeah, Saturday Night Fever made it into a song about feeling really good. And, like, like people, I think, adopted it as, like, that anthem of walking down the street, like, no time to talk, I'm busy. But literally they're talking about, like, don't stop me because you might, like, stab me. So I'm just going to keep walking. I've got no time for you.
Well, and interestingly enough, even though this song kind of had a social message, yeah, the Bee Gees did the whole soundtrack to Saturday Night Fever, and that's when people started to turn on them a little bit because of the whole disco thing. And so they went from kind of these very serious songwriters to, well, we're kind of a disco band, and then people turned on disco and started to hate the Bee Gees. But, first of all, this soundtrack is still awesome. And then secondly, I mean, they just pumped out so many hits even after that, but they just became songwriters after that. They almost couldn't perform. All right, so your next pick, you've got Paper Planes by MIA.
I was absolutely obsessed with this song whenever it came out. So it came out in 2008. I think that was around post-college for me. The beat is so good. I mean, this still gets a lot of airtime today. I think for me, like, this one is more of possibly like a car strut, like a cruising vibe. So, like if you're just like, if you have a car and you're in a town where like that makes sense, and you just want to roll the windows down and play this song, because driving New York does not make any sense. It's so crazy.
That's true.
But yeah, I just feel like the vibe is like perfect for this mix. Again, really good beat. I feel like the through line for all of these tracks is like it just has like a really solid, well cadence, like a good cadence beat that you can either walk to on single time or like half time if you want to really slow things down. But yeah, I just absolutely am obsessed with this track. I think she like knocked it out of the park, and it again continues to just get playtime today. It's awesome.
Yeah, the thing I wrote down as I listened to our entire mix was so many of these could be just instrumentals and still be perfect Strut songs. And I think this kind of falls into that category where it's just like just that beat and everything going on. It's like totally works. But then, yeah, you add in the lyrics and it's pretty cool. Although, again, you talk about, we just talking about staying alive. Like you dig into the lyrics of this one. And it's kind of about like the struggle of like immigrants. It was on the Slumdog Millionaire soundtrack. I mean, it was really, slightly darker song than maybe it appears on the surface for something that was really kind of a pop hit.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, this one actually violates the rule that I said not even a song ago about how I try to pick songs that at least lyrically matched up, because you're right. This one is basically about the struggle of like immigrants coming to, I guess to any country really.
Well, but similar to Staying Alive, like you could take it as kind of a, confident sort of thing. You're hustling, like there is, it's not totally negative. So, let's not, pull this one off the shelf just yet.
All right. Yeah, that's fair.
You're okay.
Cool.
You're okay.
Thank you for that validation. I needed that. All right. Let's go to song number 5. And this one, I got some questions on this one. Not about your pick, but about the lyrics. So the song is The Stroke by Billy Squier.
Okay, so any fan of 80s music, right, is going to know this one. And, it starts with the big bass, like, intro, right, just the drums, and then everything kind of kicks in. If you've seen the movie Billy Madison, Adam Sandler going back to school, I mean, of course, he's an 80s kid, and he shows up in the 90s playing the song, and everyone kind of just thinks he's a joke, but he thinks it's, like, the coolest thing in the world to be blasting this from his car. So it's a great Strut song. Now, I think I know where you're going with this, Sammer, okay?
Uh-huh.
Why are they all yelling, stroke me, at the end, right? Like, what is that in
Right.
reference to? Okay. Now, look, we try to keep it clean here on Super Awesome Mix, so I'm just going to get it's not what you think, okay? Billy Squier has long denied that this song is about that topic, okay? It's, in fact, more about, like, the ego stroking that goes on in the music industry and how, like, he kind of wrote this song sort of against that, but just how, like, there's this people lavish praise upon these celebrities and stroke their egos. And so it was kind of an anti song against that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
That's
yeah.
what he contends. That's what he contends. Yeah. Okay.
I guess we got to trust the artist. We just got to trust the artist. Just like we trust Billy Idol's Dancing with Myself to also just mean about dancing with yourself. That's
look,
all it is.
you're sitting at home alone. You want to turn on some music and dance by yourself.
And dance.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's no shame in that.
It's perfectly healthy. It's perfectly healthy.
It's very healthy to do, yeah. But no, like, lyrics aside, this definitely is a great song in this mix. Has that perfect vibe to it. I also love, like, I was reading the lyrics, of course, and spread the ear pollution both far and wide. And I've never heard the term ear pollution. I've heard, like, noise pollution. But ear pollution to me just made me crack up. Like, I love that.
Ear pollution.
Ear pollution. What a bizarre, like, term. But that one is what stood out, other than, again, the lyrics. But no, it was a really good song. Perfect beat. And I like it. It was good.
Well, Samra, before we get to track 6, we want to tell you, super awesome listeners, that our show today is sponsored by another podcast from yet another friend from Australia. So if you've listened to the show for a while, you know we've had more than a couple of guests from Australia, which is super cool that we've actually reached people on that side of the world. But this show is called A Breath of Fresh Air, and it's hosted by Sandy Kay. Sandy has been a journalist and a reporter for so many years, and every week she interviews some major names in music. It's such a cool show. And when I'm talking about major names, for her 100th episode, this was the lineup. She had Gordon Lightfoot, Elvis Costello, and Peter Frampton. That was her 100th episode. I mean, that's incredible. And these people know her, and she knows them. I mean, it's really pretty neat because they kind of open up to her. So just an unbelievable slew of guests, and the thing they talk about, not just the music they made, but kind of what they're up to now. So if you're listening to this show, you love music, I know you're going to love A Breath of Fresh Air to catch up and probably learn something new about some of your favorite musicians. You can find it anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcasts. Apple, Spotify, everywhere. It's A Breath of Fresh Air. Now, for track 6, speaking of A Breath of Fresh Air, okay, I love this throwback that you threw in here. You have These Boots Are Made for Walkin' by Nancy Sinatra.
Yeah, another pick that came to mind immediately whenever I think about a Strut mix. And yeah, it's cool to kind of like very, modern and very old tracks. This song comes all the way from 1966. That bass line in this song, I think, is really what makes this song. Like, just from the opening notes, you just know you're gonna like love this song. And again, to your point, like, I think that's so well said. You could strip out the lyrics from this one and just listen to the instrumental and just feel that vibe coming through. So then adding on the lyrics of, this woman being like, I'm gonna walk all over you, which is just, again, it's kind of an empowering message that I absolutely love. I think these two things combined make it a perfect addition to like any Strut mix, where you're just like, yeah, like, I own this town, like, no one's gonna get in my way. And absolutely love that. So yes, the boots are made for walking, and you know what? That's just what they'll do, Matt.
The lyric I call out here is, now what's right is right, and you ain't been right yet. I love that.
Yes, so good.
I love that line. And you're right, this is a great song, and I love songs that are ahead of its time, and definitely for like the late 60s for a woman, even though it's Nancy Sinatra, and Frank could probably have you killed if you did do her wrong. It was still pretty empowering for a woman to be singing his lyrics. So definitely a great pick and perfect for a mix like this. I agree with you.
Awesome. All right, well, let's go a little bit into the future, but not too far. And you've got, for track 7, Here Comes the Hot Stepper by Ini Kamoze.
I think it was Ini Kamoze.
Ini Kamoze.
Yeah. Okay, so the hot stepper is a Jamaican term for someone on the run from the law. And apparently this was also Ini Kamoze's nickname. So I guess this song was trending on TikTok earlier this year, but I'm not cool enough to be on TikTok. So, but I think it got a little love earlier this year. But this beat, it doesn't surprise me that it would catch on something like TikTok or go viral with some sort of dance, because the beat is just so, it's amazing. Similar to Paper Planes, I think the lyrics reveal something a little bit more serious. I mean, in the background when he's saying, "Here comes the hot stepper," everybody's saying "murderer," right? So, of course,
Right.
like, something bad might have happened here. But it's definitely a catchy song. It was a huge pop hit when it came out in like the mid 90s. And it's really kind of clever. The na 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 at the beginning, it's kind of a takeoff of an oldie, Jackie Wilson's Land of a Thousand Dances. They kind of lifted that and kind of reconfigured it for this song, which is pretty cool as well. I love it when artists kind of take something from another song but also kind of make it their own. So just a great pick though. I mean, a lot of confidence in this one and a great beat.
Absolutely agree on all of that. The na 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 is like kind of an earworm too. Like it can, that definitely could have gone on our earworm mix. Because even just reading the lyrics, like you read it as it's sung, right? At least I certainly do. 1995, like still has that early 90s hip hop vibe to it, which is just like such a special time in hip hop. Like it is so good. I had no idea he was yelling murder in the chorus. I always heard it as turn it up, so it's like, here comes the hot stepper, turn it up. Like that's what my brain was hearing. So to understand that it was murder, and now only of course hear that, I was like, oh my goodness, wow, that kind of changes the vibe a little bit.
Well, and I remember like hearing this in high school, and it was a huge hit. So it was on radio all the time. And then somebody pointed that out, like someone was singing along and said "murderer," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is what they're saying, isn't it?" So yeah, I think everyone has had that experience, and if you haven't, you just had that experience listening to this.
You're welcome.
Right? Yeah, you're welcome. You'll never listen to "Here Come the Hot Stepper" the same way again. All right, so your next pick, you went with "Glamorous" by Fergie featuring Ludacris.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love this track. Like this not only reminds me of such a happy time in my life because it's again around college age, when I was listening to it, but this is also around the time where like Ludacris was on every track. Like it doesn't matter.
Yes.
It didn't matter what genre of music you were doing, it didn't whatever. I just feel like he was in every recording studio across America, just popping in and laying down verses for people. You know what, Luda, if you're listening, do that again. Like, I'm here for it. Like, it's always so good to hear his voice on a track.
It is. Yeah, you're right. It's like he was like delivering sandwiches or something. Like he had a day job. And then it's just like, "Hey, man, get in here. Can you rap?" And I was like, "Sure." And he's just like, yeah. Like, that's how he became famous. It's just, I'm just going to show up on everybody's track. I'm just going to pop in there.
I mean, seriously, it's so good. He delivers those things so well. But yeah, this song was recently sampled by First Class by Jack Harlow on his most recent album, or his album debut, I believe. And it was, it basically was this song with him rapping on top of it. And I just thought, well, wow, you know what? I'm just going to go back to the song I love because it's perfect. It's just absolutely perfect. It fits the vibe of like feeling, glamorous. You're flying first class, like you're like living that high life. It's got a really good beat to it where you can just kind of like lose yourself to it and you just feel like $1 million. Like it's such a smooth track. It's also a song I would listen to driving around back in, whenever I was in Austin, windows down, turned up. Like it's perfect for all of those scenarios where like you're going to be in a good mood when you turn this on. And then of course you're always helped by Luda showing up for a quick verse there. So yeah, Glamorous. I love it. Still listening to it today.
This is a great pick. I also like how they just throw down the gauntlet right from the jump. So it's like, if you ain't got no money, get your broke ass home, right? So it's like, just right off the bat, like we're just gonna draw this line in the sand. So if you ain't got no money, I guess I can see how someone might have a problem with the song or find it discouraging. But if you're doing it should just instill confidence in you about the glamorous life that you lead. Yeah.
Yeah, this wouldn't pass any like diversity and inclusion tests today, I don't think.
Probably
Right? It
not.
would
No.
be
Yeah. I mean,
disqualified.
it's definitely very exclusionary. I will say
It
that.
is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very clearly exclusionary. That's a good point. All right, track 9. Such a good pick. I was so happy to see this one on here. You went with The Best by Tina Turner.
Yes. So it's got the heavy synthesizer intro. You could tell this from the 1980s. But the title is The Best, and you get to hear Tina Turner tell you you're simply the best over and over. So again, it's got a strong enough rhythm to where it passes the instrumental test. But I think here the lyrics are only going to help you if you're kind of strutting around. Like you just pulled off something big, you're feeling really good about yourself. Go ahead and take a walk and listen to Tina Turner tell you you're the best.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that chorus can also be like an earworm, and a very positive one, right? Like if you are into affirmations, like you said, like this is a great one to get stuck in your head. You're just sitting there singing like you're simply the best, over and over again, and you're like, yeah, you know what? I am the best. I had no idea. So I didn't know this was a cover, actually, by Bonnie Tyler. So it was the original singer of this song, and Tina Turner covered it. And I listened to the Bonnie Tyler version, and it's also very good. So this would be like a real hard toss up between, whenever we do cover mixes, like who did it best. I think they both could. They're both the best. You know what? Like they're better than all the rest.
Yeah, they're better than all the rest. I had no idea this was a cover song. As many times as I've heard this, I'm going to go back and listen to the Bonnie Tyler version because I bet with her voice, she would really. That's believable that she would really pull this off. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they both do an amazing job. Like it's hard to pick one over the other because they're both incredibly talented musicians. So yeah, good stuff.
So speaking of incredibly talented musicians, we got 3 of them on this track. You went with I Like It by Cardi B, Bad Bunny, and J Balvin.
Yeah, I had this one on my like confidence mix for my birthday mix, and so it had to make an appearance again because I'm still in that romance period once again with this song where it's like I'm not yet sick of like its resurgence in my life, like as I mentioned on the birthday mix earlier this year, everyone listened to it in 2018 through 2019, and then it was like, okay, enough. And then, of course, even 2020, it didn't really thematically fit with anything going on. It's hard to feel that you liked anything happening that year.
Fair.
So now now it's kind of coming back in my life and I'm enjoying it all over again. But yeah, the bass beat really is just like what does it. And also mixing it, sampling the I Like It Like That, I think was the absolute genius of this song because, and something that I think, we've talked about with samples, like hip hop does this really well. You take something that is just like universally like nostalgic is really, really good to start with. And then you layer on top like modern, bass beats and electronics and rapping. And like, again, that mashup of different genres works so well. And this song has that. But yeah, I think, in terms of like lyrics and everything, you're just, you like it, like you feel really good listening to this song. And that's why it was on my confidence mix. And that's why it's making an appearance here as well.
Totally agree with all that. I had the same note about like hip hop songs kind of updating, older songs, things that are kind of known quantities because the I Like It Like That, people know that line, right? And so it's cool that they do the callback at the beginning of this song and then the bass line kicks in and you could tell it's a different song and more updated. But yeah, really cool. And all 3 of these artists, like they each have kind of their own section of the song and all 3 of them, they're all slightly different. So I think that's kind of cool too, how everything sort of changes around it when each of them is a part of the song, but there's still this constant through line. So yeah, it's a great song and yeah, just a perfect beat throughout for strutting if you're walking. Love it.
Yes. Awesome. All right, your last pick, track 11 on the mix. You went with Freedom 90 by George Michael.
Okay, so this one's great. It's got a great beat. It's talking about freedom, right? So if you're strutting, I mean, what a great thing to keep in mind, like, right? Like simply the best.
Right.
It's talking about, George Michael wrote this. I think he was breaking away from his old record label and from being in Wham. Like this was a real turning point in his career. Iconic music video. He had all these supermodels in it. He didn't want to appear in the video, so he decided to get every supermodel in the world at that time. But Naomi Campbell, Cindy Crawford, Linda Evangelista, is among that lineup that was in there at the time. And then David Fincher actually directed the music video. So
Amazing.
it's this
Right.
incredible song, incredible director, all these incredible women in the video. So yeah, and I just love this song. I mean, it's great. I think it's perfect if you are quitting a job that you can't stand and you're walking out on that last day. Go ahead and start playing this as you're going down in the elevator and then as you're walking out of the building, right? Like this is perfect for that kind of moment, I think.
All right. Well, I think you just came up with a future mix idea. It's like songs to quit your job to, where you feel
Oh, that would be
free
great.
from.
Yes. Yes.
So we'll get to talk about freedom all over again.
Yes. The Great Resignation. We should
Exactly.
make a mix for that. Yeah.
All right. It's happening. It's definitely happening. We may have to poll our audience on that one too. I think that'd be a fun one to get some,
Yes.
some,
Yes. The listener mix. Yes.
yeah. All right. It's happening. You heard it here live. All right. Yes. What's funny to me though about this song, and my first reaction, of course I know this song, but I know it more from like commercials than anywhere else. I think I've heard it more in like television commercials than I've heard it actually as a song being played for me. Just huge. I mean, it makes sense too, right? Like you're right. Like every brand wants to be associated with this, with a sense of freedom. Freedom is an amazing feeling. And so it makes sense that a lot of brands would like pick this as the song that they want playing in their commercial. But other than that, yeah, I had that same note about the music video being directed by David Fincher. If you're not familiar with that name, like Social Network is like probably his most like, awarded film that he's directed. So it's kind of crazy that here he is, back in early 90s directing music videos and then would later direct such an impactful film. So pretty awesome. Yeah, great song though. Really, really good. Excited for the Great Resignation mix.
Yes, that's going to be a good one. All right, so let's finish strong here. Your last pick, you went with Mount Everest by Labyrinth.
Yeah, this is like a dark horse entry here because it's probably not one that anyone would ever have top of mind, but I got introduced to Labyrinth probably like many people through the show Euphoria. I love season 1. I have yet to get through season 2. It's like a little too intense for me right now, so I need to wait to watch more of it. But season 1 was just so good. Such a good show. And it features a lot of his music. He did the theme for it, and so this song is also in a scene during season 1. And this one for me is more the lyrics than anything else. Like he's literally saying like Mount Everest ain't got shit on me. Like that mountain, has got nothing on me. Like I can climb it. It's not a problem. It has like such an interesting kind of changing beat throughout the song. But it's like really bass heavy, and for me I always equate bass with like confidence. I don't know why, but it just kind of like builds you up. Maybe it's like that sense of the vibration in your chest and stuff is like, yeah, like let's do this. And yeah, so I listen to this one all the time whenever I kind of need an amp up, so I wanted to throw this on here for like a strut mix of like you got that power to your step.
Yeah, this was the song I was probably least familiar with going into the mix. Like when I got your mix, I was like, I don't think I know this one. And I started playing it. The opening line just right off the bat, right, about Mount Everest. I'm just like, yeah, okay. Well, that's okay. I get why this is on this type of mix. I like the beat throughout. And as I was listening to it, what I thought of was kind of your classic action movie scene where, the guy flicks his cigarette at the kind of perfectly lined up line of like gasoline or whatever, and then slowly walks away as the car or whatever blows up in the background. So I was like, this is a great slow motion strut song. I thought that was perfect for that. So that's what I came up with. And I was like, this is a good one to end on because of that sort of just slowly walking away.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be a perfect, like, there'd be a perfect song for a scene like that, because it really does give that vibe of just kind of like you're done with something. Again, metaphorically lighting a place on fire. Let's
Yeah, let's go back to our metaphorical cocaine. Okay, same thing here, right? This is metaphorical arson is what we're advocating for.
Exactly.
Okay? Light the place on fire, but metaphorically, yeah.
Metaphorically. Please be safe, everyone.
Yeah, everybody, we talk about a lot of topics here, but we just want the vibe from them, right? That's what we're going
Exactly.
for. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, there you have it. Another super awesome mix for your collection. This one all about giving you that confident strut as you walk through your day or through all sorts of scenarios. And it also gave us a great idea for the Great Resignation mix. So look for that coming down the line. And when we do solicit, listener suggestions, Sammer, where can they find us?
Yeah, be sure to follow us at Super Awesome Mix on Instagram. That's where we're most active, and we do a lot of really fun story polls where people just like you can send us a song suggestion, and it is so much fun. It's a way for us to discover new music and for us to share some of your favorite picks with other listeners. So be sure to follow us at Super Awesome Mix.
And in the meantime, we'll get to work on our next mix. So for Sammer, this is Matt, and we'll see you next time. Super Awesome Mix is brought to you by DLM. Make shopping easy with DLM, the one-stop shop for all your casual clothing needs. Shop DLMsupplyco.com and enter the promo code AWESOME at checkout to save 15% off your first purchase. That's DLMsupplyco.com.